And we're back with the Amor Muto discovery. Shahram here talking to us about being interdependent, dependent, and independent being a very big lie. I gotta share a little bit story of my own experience with realizing how dependent I was after my accident. Um, I'm a very physical guy. I used to drive a motorcycle. I liked chopping up wood and building stuff. I started architecture, worked with metal, welding, and laying bricks, realizing that my physical existence was not guaranteed because of the fact that I could not put food in my own mouth. I could not drink water for 3 months. I was completely paralyzed from the neck down. It really messed with my self image, my self esteem, my self worth. The fact that the only thing I could do physically myself was just breathe. I needed help going to the bathroom, dressing myself, feeding myself. It completely crashed my system. It took me a very long time to be able to get rid of my allergy towards being interdependent, receiving and giving. I was very bad at receiving for a very long time in my life. Um, and it definitely made me ponder about why do I like my self image more if I am less dependent?
May I congratulate you? You are typically a normal guy of this time
You know?
because you are not the only one who receiving compliments or receiving something in our education in this time in the
Mhm.
society defines as independent is a good thing. I know what to do, and dependent is a less acceptable position. So
I always use the example of tying your own shoelaces.
yeah,
That how we teach our kids.
yeah,
As a parent, you get tired of tying your kids' shoelaces, so you're trying to teach them how to tie their own
yeah,
shoelaces. There is a moment that they can tie their own shoelaces, but they also appreciate you
yeah,
doing it.
yeah,
And then you have to shift something in their mind to feeling better about it when they do it themselves. So you applaud them and call them a big boy or a big girl when they do it themselves. And then fast forward till you're like 70 or 80 usually, when you cannot do it yourself anymore. I had that experience at the age of 25, and then you lose that sense of pride that you got installed in your young ages by your parents that look at me, I am a big person now. I can do this myself versus I require somebody else to do it for me and I cannot appreciate it. Well, you should. It took me a long time to be able to appreciate it again and to just value the interdependence, the interaction of somebody is giving me love and care and attention
yeah,
at this moment.
yeah.
Why should I be allergic to that? I discovered it that it was mostly programmed. So when it's programmed, I can update it. I can reinstall it myself towards something that's not directly correlated towards how I feel about myself. But I know how hard that was. And if I look around and I want you to pitch in on that as well, you decided to change how interdependent or how dependent you were from the corporate world to not rely on them. You changed your world.
Yeah, yeah.
How did your self image and your value of yourself go to that through that period?
Um, Ups and downs. When I come to my parents, they say you are crazy.
Mm.
When I went to conservative meetings, then crazy guy. But there are also places, there are also communities where they appreciate it.
Mm.
So when I talk to my wife and children, I feel very good. So it depends on where I am, who are giving me the feeling.
And when you sit by yourself alone?
Still, I have to, sometimes I'm suffering, and sometimes I feel happy. So that is what I think. It's not about only happiness and only suffering. Both need each other, not like day and night. You know, we grew up in this time we talk about dualism. You are with us or you are against us.
Wow.
But the truth is, it's a non-dualism. There is no day without night. I am sometimes with you, I'm sometimes not with you. Both are possible. It's not choosing one of these two options. Those are on the table, and depends on the situation. I choose in which state. And that is why, and that makes to accepting, we are living in a time that social norms dictating our life.
Yeah, especially now.
And it's not only for now, in many years.
Yeah.
And I feel that we are living in Middle Ages.
In what sense?
You are, as long as your ideas, your contribution, your way of living, I call it, as long as you draw between the lines, that is the normal status, is socially accepted, it's okay.
Yeah.
Then you can be independent, you can be free, you can say whatever you want.
If it
That
fits.
is our democracy.
Yeah, it fits.
As long as fits between the lines. As long as your ideas doesn't fit between the lines, you will be persona non grata. And then we can label you can
The extremist.
extremism and lefties, right things, populists. There is no space to be not normal. The normal is the only way that is acceptable.
It's the way to go.
Yeah. And again, the normal and not normal
Cannot exist.
both are exist.
Yeah. I'm curious. We're in a time of change.
Yeah.
Like the reason why I am making this podcast, the reason why I am sharing my energy management compass, the reason why I am spending time on impacting as many as people as possible with the only truth that I have learned is that change is coming. It's coming at a faster pace. Right now, we are experiencing the biggest upheaval in the history of capitalism, so to say. Like, oh, we have to unplug business as usual, and we are waiting to go back to business as usual as fast as possible. In my perspective, we have not thought about the forest fires that are coming towards us this summer. As they had it in Australia, it's going to go to America. We have not thought about the amount of climate refugees that are going to be walking around the earth finding water and food because of droughts. So the speed of change and the size of it is increasing. Yet all we talk about is how do we get back to the way it was.
Yeah.
How does one... You did it in your own life. You had a certain status quo, and then you took an axe, chopped it in half, threw it to the side, and went looking for something new. I feel like as a society, as a global connected, interdependent person, we need to be able to do that.
Yeah. Okay. 2 remarks.
Go.
First of all, your observations about the current time, I'm not totally agree on that.
Okay.
The second, thank you very much for all your compliments, but that's not true too.
About yourself?
About myself,
No.
It's about how we package it, and how we look like.
Okay.
So everyone is unique. Everyone is doing their best.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean, so I did it. That's not true. Go back to first observation, which is what's happening right now. It depends on if you look at to the mainstream media,
Well.
yeah, it's a mess. But when you try to look at the situation from a distance, it's not that a big deal. You know, I don't even want to hear all kind of conspiracy theory. Is it Chinese virus? Is it American virus? CIA? I don't care. But at the end, we lost 20,000 people. Maybe we lost 100,000 people.
We're losing human lives.
It is, you know, when you look at the number of casualties within the traffic, is much more.
No.
What I see, how vulnerable and how addicted we are to our normal life, which we hated.
No.
No one wants to be normal, but as soon as the normal is not there, we miss it. What I see are our dependency to the system get much more. So again, we are dependent and we are independent, and we have to play on both chessboards. It's not about we are completely dependent. It should be a balance between dependent and not being dependent. And what I see happening, we tend to more dependency to internet, to data, to science, to politicians. So the strong elements get much more strong, and the weak will be more weak. This is one scenario, but it should not, it's not, you know, there are different ways to look at this.
But do you agree that there is a certain level of addiction to our habits and way of life?
Certainly.
And as soon as they get interrupted, we like junkies are looking.
The physiology, our brain, is the functioning of the brain is based on automatization.
Yeah.
We need our routines, because imagine how much calculation the brains had to do when you every morning stand up.
Everything from start.
From scratch, the brain has to calculate, okay, what will be the next? No,
Yeah.
it is routine.
So how, or do you have any idea about how do we implement the change that is required of us, or it's not?
You know, you mark I first, I have to look to downgrade my own role.
Yeah.
Because we think we are ruling the nature.
Yeah. That's
But nature is ruling us.
we're part of it. Yeah.
You know, in 2008, we need 30 billion euros to fix the problem in Holland. 12 years later, the first estimation is 100 billion. I think we're gonna manage Corona. We did nothing, the real change will not be there. Because we are still ruling the nature. I think the only thing that we have to go with the flow of the nature.
Yep.
What wants to happen right now? We can nationalize our aircraft industry, our tourist industry. But you can start to reorganize. We need a new design. And as long as our professors, our experts, our politicians come from the age of 1900, the last century, outdated theories, I don't think that much gonna happen. And maybe you say this is not very positive, optimistic future. In my opinion, is very optimistic. Because if you know that,
you can change.
then no. First is to accept it. If you accept it, it doesn't bother you anymore.
True.
then you know what will be your role. It doesn't matter what you do,
Mm.
nothing gonna change.
Oh wow. So you take it takes generations.
It takes time.
Mm.
We are the majority of people, as long as majority of people want to maintain the status quo and normal, back to normal,
That's gonna happen.
the change not gonna happen.
No.
So we need bigger disasters.
Yeah.
For example, we fixed Corona, but what happened if the production because of a disease, we don't have bread, we don't have rice? How are we gonna
Yeah, food.
Or imagine if we have a very big earthquake, which we expecting. How are we
No.
gonna solve it?
No.
Still with data?
No.
Can you eat data?
No.
So I am optimistic, but I am also realistic.
I agree on that. The reason why I'm putting my efforts into this is to also accept the fact that I myself had to go through a very big, impactful accident to, with a lot of resistance, go through the change I needed personally.
Yeah.
And I would find it a shame that society would need a disaster of that scale to reinvent itself. Can we reach that sense of urgency without a disaster of that scale?
Okay.
Do we need that much pain to go through change?
Okay. My reaction on that is
Yeah.
you put it on the shoulder of the society. Don't try to mobilize to change the society. The change starts from you and from me. And let's be also realistic. We can do a lot, but again, we have to downgrade our influence.
Yeah, be realistic about the impact we can have.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know, if today we talk about capital and we talk about replacement of human factor by robots, by data, we talk about the privacy. If you take it granted as a given, inevitable, then you are suffering. But you have more choices to go the other way.
No.
And we need the awakening. And as long as we do not want to suffer, because seeing this is not a very optimistic scenario, if we do not accept that on personal level, forget the society.
No.
Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Thank you for joining today, Shahram. As you're listening to this show, you might be hearing things that you do not like to hear. I myself even had to swallow for a moment to be realistic about the impact that we can have in one life. That does not take away that the effort and the pursuit of our goals is something noble and worthwhile. Thank you all for tuning in for the Amor Muto discovery. We heard about the importance of serendipity, how interdependent we are, and we are fluctuating between being dependent and independent. And
non-dualism.
non-dualism, yeah, one of my favorite terms in Buddhism as well, in the spiritual teachings. And in the end, a very sobering approach towards change, that the guy in the mirror or the girl in the mirror, that's the one you can impact mostly, and that should be your frame of focus. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Shahram, for joining today.